Immersion.
Okay, let's talk immersion suits. Each documented commercial fishing vessel that operates north of the Mexican border is required to have one immersion suit for each person on board. Additionally, state-registered commercial fishing vessels that operate more than 3 miles offshore or in any waters north of Point Reyes are also required to have an immersion suit for each person on board. State-registered vessels operating inside of 3 nautical miles and south of Point Reyes can use any Coast Guard type approved life jacket. The only caveat, they still have to have the retro tape, the personal marker light, and the name of the vessel or the owner on it. So, how do we check an immersion suit? Okay, first thing we want to make sure is that they are readily available. This is not storing them underneath a bunk someplace in the forward compartment or down in the lazarette, wherever. These have to be somewhere where you can grab it in the bag and get it on right away. So let's start looking at this one here. This is a U.S. Coast Guard approved immersion suit, because there are also Canadian Coast Guard approved immersion suits out there, and they do not meet our requirements. So when you check to see if it is approved, make sure on the approval it says U.S. Coast Guard on there. So what are we looking for now besides the fact that it's U.S. Coast Guard approved? Okay, first thing we're going to look at is if this thing has any rips, holes, or tears. This suit is designed to seal the person in except for the little area around your face. So if you have any rips, tears, or holes, that would allow water in and out, which will then no longer be watertight. So after checking the suit, make sure that there's no holes in there anywhere, tears or rips. The next thing we want to check is the zipper. This often gets neglected, especially during maintenance time. And you'll see it will start turning green. And the test is whether or not you can zip it up all the way without having to struggle with it. If it zips up all the way like that, you're good to go. Also, by the way, we recommend that it be kept about 2 inches from the bottom. And the reason for that is when you're putting it on, if it happens to get caught in your clothing and you're down here, you don't have anywhere to go to get it unstuck. So by having a couple of inches there, especially when the adrenaline's running, if this is a real emergency, you're panicking, you're not thinking about stuff. So this gives you a little bit room to work with, just in case. Now the standard for the number of teeth you can be missing is 0. No teeth can be missing on this thing at all. It has to be complete, and again, it has to go up and down easily. The next thing we're going to look for is flotation. Now this model here actually has solid flotation. There's no air to put in there, no air tube or anything. It's just built in there, so you don't have to worry about it. But most models will have an air bladder, like this one here. In this case, it's attached to the back. Others, they come around the waist. But typically, they have an air tube like this with a Schrader valve on the end, and it drapes over. So once you're in the water, it is manually inflated. So what you want to check for on these is cracks on the hose itself. Make sure the Schrader valve is not frozen. And where it attaches to the air bladder, make sure that the glue hasn't dried out and it's not loose in there, that it's nice and tight and snug. Next thing we want to check on here is to make sure that they have at least 32 square inches of retroreflective tape on the suit itself. The regulations are not specific as to where it goes. You just got to make sure there's 32 square inches. And our dockside examiners carry extra retroreflective tape in case to hand out. This does get old and it does start peeling off and so forth. So we carry that to make it a non-issue. Next is the personal marker light. There are several different brands and styles. It can be a static light or it can be a strobe light. The key is it has to work. So this one right here is flashing, so it's good right now. We know it works. The other thing you want to check on this is for the Coast Guard approval number. There are some lights out there that are not Coast Guard approved. So it'll say on there, because it's the law, USCG, and then for all safety appliances, they all start with a 160, and then it'll be point whatever for the particular appliance and company that manufactures that piece of equipment. These typically use alkaline batteries, so that means you got to replace them every year. Some will have lithium ion batteries, and those are good for 5 years. And there's also other types, water activated, and those will actually have an expiration date stamped right on there when they're typically 5 years. And there's also chemical lights. Those also expire, so what you want to check on those, just like when you're checking flares, make sure that they're not expired. It's not required by regulation, but we recommend that they carry at least 2 bags stuffed in the head to slide over your feet when you're getting into this suit. When we train commercial fishermen, we train them to get this suit on within 60 seconds. Most fishing vessel sinkings happen within 2 minutes. So time is critical. And these bags will save you a good minute trying to get into that suit. Again, not required by regulation, but highly recommended. And of course, we want the name of the vessel or the name of the owner written on the suit. There's no size requirement or script or block or anything like that. We just want the name of the owner or the vessel typically on there, so we could identify who, if we find it floating out there, who it belongs to. We recommend that it be put on the back shoulder here, but the regulations don't specify. It could be anywhere. I've seen it on the legs, I've seen it on the sleeves, but when they ask us, we recommend it be put on the back of the shoulder. So there you go. That is how you inspect an immersion suit. Remember, all documented commercial fishing vessels operating north of the Mexican border have to have an immersion suit for each person on board, and state registered commercial fishing vessels that operate more than 3 miles from shore also need to have an immersion suit, or at any time operating north of Point Reyes.
Okay, demonstrate putting the suit on.
Hey, look! Mini-me!
Oh, for crying out loud. Can we get someone in here who knows what he's doing?
Here we have Chief Christofferson demonstrating how to properly don an immersion suit. You'll notice that he's putting plastic bags over his feet. Now, this is not required by regulation, but it will greatly enhance the ability to get your suit on quickly. So the first thing he's going to do now is he's going to slide the feet in with those plastic bags. See how easily that goes in? And he's going to get his feet right in there. Now he's going to come up to his knees, and he's going to first put his weak arm in, because these suits can be a little bit tight to get on. And make sure he's got the hand piece on. Now he's going to put the hood on, or at least get it positioned. And now he's going to use with his strong arm, which you'll see why it's a little bit difficult. Get it on. He's going to stand up and now zip it up all the way. And that is how you get your immersion suit on within 60 seconds. And that concludes how to inspect an immersion suit. Again, remember, you need to have one for each person on board on all documented vessels, and for each person on board on state-registered vessels that operate more than 3 miles offshore or north of Point Reyes.